Let us continue with the arrangement of sepals and petals in the floral bud with respect to the members of the same whorl. So that process we call it as the aestivation. As we introduced the terms in the previous video, the first type is the valvate type of aestivation. So let us see how this will be present. So whenever the sepals or petals which are present in the same whorl, the margins will touch one another without the overlapping. So here, if you just observe, let us take the five petals or five sepals are there. This is the one, and this edge we call it as the margin or the end of the one petal. In the same way, total they are five in number. They are just arranged on the same plane, but the thing is, they are not going to overlap. They are just facing each other. This condition we call it as the valvate type of aestivation. So the margins of this is the one petal, this is another petal, both are of the adjacent to each other. They touch each other without overlapping. They may touch it or they may be free. So that type of aestivation, we call it as the valvate type of aestivation, can be seen in the Brassica. Brassica is the mustard family, Brassicaceae, the mustard, and you can also see in the Calotropis. So this type of aestivation, we call it as the valvate type of aestivation. Means the margins of the adjacent petals touch each other without overlapping. Or whenever sepals or petals in a whorl, they just touch one another. They just touch one another at margins. They are just going to touch or facing each other without overlapping. This aestivation, we call it as the valvate type of aestivation, can be seen in the petals of this mustard and the petals of this Calotropis. Second type is twisted type. In this twisted type of aestivation, we also call this twisted type is the contorted, convoluted, this type. So in this twisted, one margin of the petal overlap the next one and that will goes on. Suppose the five petals are there, you can find this easily in the case of hibiscus. So there are the five petals. Let us say first petal, one margin is outside and the other margin is inside. And the next one, it is overlapping. It is overlapping. The one end of the one margin overlaps the other end of the another margin. So they are just forming this twisted type of structure. So here, yes. So if you observe, all these are of one. If you see the first one margin is overlapped and this margin is overlapped by another and this is overlapped by another. So this process we call it as a twisted, and this type of aestivation we call it as the twisted type of aestivation. So you can find like this. Yes. So this can be seen in the China rose or hibiscus. We can also see in the Malvaceae family like cotton, lady's finger, hibiscus, bhendi, lady's finger, and the cotton. So what is meant by this? These are the margins of the petal. So these margins, one petal overlap the margin of the adjacent petal, right? So one margin of petal overlaps the next margin of adjacent petal. So they may be fused, they may be free. Overlaps the next one and that continues. which continues on the remaining thing. So the examples are China rose, lady's finger, and the cotton. This type of estivation we call it as a twisted, contorted, or convoluted. The third type of estivation is imbricate estivation. So this can be seen in a gulmohar easily, and this is a special type. In the valvate, all are arranged on the same wall and they are facing each other. Here, one is overlapping the other. One margin is overlapped by another, and one is overlapping the other, that is twisted. Coming to this imbricate, one petal's margin are completely inside, one petal margins are completely outside. Remaining three petals will be showing the twisted type of estivation. So in this imbricate, one is completely outside, means both the margins are present completely outside, and one is completely inside, and remaining three will be showing the twisted type of estivation. We know what is meant by twisted. The margins are overlapping or covering each other. So if you draw this, let us say these petals margins are, both the margins are completely present inside, and one more petal, both margins are completely outside. And how the remaining three will be present? So the remaining three will be showing the twisted type. So this is completely outside, and the other one is completely inside, and remaining three are showing twisted. Twisted in the sense one margin should be overlapping the other end will be overlapped by the adjacent one. So here it is arranged like this, and here. This type of estivation we call it as the imbricate type. If you see this pink one, it is completely inside, both the margins are overlapped, and this one is completely outside, the margins are overlapping the other. And if you see, these remaining three are showing the twisted type of estivation. So which means the margins overlap at one another, but they are not in any particular direction. So if you see, the inside one may be present here or may be occupied here, the outside one may be present anywhere. So we don't have any particular direction, but it should have a one completely inside, one completely outside. Remaining three must be showing the twisted. So the margins overlap at one another, but not in any particular direction. That type of estivation we call it as the imbricate type of estivation. This can be observed in the cassia and the gulmohar. And the fourth type is vexillary or papilionaceous type of estivation. Vexillary or papilionaceous, we have another term also, that is descending imbricate. Descending imbricate type of estivation, as we can see in a papilionaceae. This is papilionaceous type of estivation. So here we have a special arrangement of these petals. The one is the largest one and it is covering the two small, and remaining two small will be covering the two more small. So total 5 petals out of 5. The one largest petal will be there, that is called as the standard. And there are two smaller ones. So this largest one will be overlapping. It overlaps two more the smaller one, or two lateral petals. These are called as the wings. And these wings in turn overlap the two more smallest petals. So these two more smallest petals are called as the keel. They are partially fused. So if you just see, which can be seen in the case of beans as well as a pea plant, it will have the largest one. So this is the one type. This largest petal which is present at the posterior side, also called as the posterior petal. The largest one, it is overlapping the two lateral petals, and this is called as the standard. And two will be present, so this is covering the two more petals, will be in this way. So these two lateral petals which are covered or which are completely covered by this standard one, these are called as the wings, the small petals, and they are overlapped by the standard, and these are in turn overlapping the two more petals, those are called as the wings. And the next type is the two more smallest one will be present which are covered by these two lateral petals, those are wings, called as the keel. So this keel or the smallest petals, the two smallest petals present at the anterior side, we also call it as the anterior petals, which are overlapped by the wings. So these are overlapped by wings, are called as the keel. So in this type of aestivation, the largest one, we call it as the standard. Two lateral petals covered by the standard called as wings, and these wings are covered by standard covering the two smallest petals, that is the keel. So this type of aestivation can be seen in the pea plant as well as the beans. So all these are the four different types of aestivation. And the fifth type, if we say, that is quincuntial aestivation. So what is this quincuntial? If you see this imbricate type of aestivation, we have uh, one completely petal outside, one completely inside, right? So in the case of quincuntial, we can see in the pentamerous type of flowers in the Brassicaceae, we know what is meant by pentamerous, which will be containing the five or the multiples of five members of vola present, we call it as pentamerous. In this pentamerous flowers belonging to the Brassicaceae family, in their petals you can find this quincuntial type of aestivation. So how they are arranged? So in this case, two are completely outside, two are completely inside, and one will be showing the twisted type. So in quincuntial, two are completely outside, two are completely inside, and the one is showing the twisted. So let us draw this diagram. Yeah. So here the outer one will draw to a completely outer side like this, and remaining two are completely inner side. So here let me differentiate with colors. This is the inner side, and the two more, these. So these green are completely outside and remaining pink are completely inside. And the one which is showing here is the twisted type. Got it? So this green petals, if you just observe, this is the outside, completely outside, this and the pink one is completely inside, and the remaining one is showing the twisted type of aestivation. So which can be seen in the brassica or the mustard flower. This type we call it as a quincuntial type of aestivation. So all these are the five different types of aestivation can be seen in the sepals as well as the petals of the flower. So in coming videos, we are going to discuss briefly of the remaining parts. Till now we completed calyx and the corolla part. We just go with the androecium, how they are arranged, and gynoecium.